Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we're tackling our living room makeover. We've been wanting to do something with this space to really level it up for a while, but I just couldn't decide what. But we have kind of an awkwardly long living room and it lacked any sort of interest. But I think we finally come up with the perfect solution to bring this room together, and that is what I'll be sharing with you today. I had to dig through the archives to find some footage of what our living room looked like when we first moved in. There was a silver gray carpet, the walls were blue, we've obviously painted and we've replaced the floors since then. So this is what our living room looked like right before we started this project. Now it's time to add a statement piece. So I enlisted the help of my dad, of course, to get us started. My dad has worked in construction his whole life. He's a professional. I feel better when he's helping us, so he so graciously helped us build the frame for our fireplace. But don't worry, I was there, I helped unload the wood, and I was the project manager, so to speak. But all credit goes to my dad for helping us out building this frame. The fireplace frame that we built was for the plans that Kristen from Simply DIY Home on Instagram has on her blog. She built this exact fireplace in her home and has the plans available to purchase. I will have all of her info linked down below if you're interested in this fireplace. It is absolutely beautiful. The plans were super easy to follow. My dad had no difficulty figuring it all out. I honestly think my husband and I could have done it, but we just lack the confidence and trust my dad a whole lot more with the structure part of things. And if you're wondering how we got this massive fireplace frame back to our house from my dad's garage, I will put a picture on the screen right here. But this is the exact moment that we realized this frame was not going to fit where we had originally planned for it to go. So now we've reached the point where my husband and I had to take over. My dad wasn't willing to help us anymore, and we had to install the fireplace frame where we were intending for it to go. So we decided to put it right in the center of our living room, which was not our original plan, but it is a happy accident because it is such a statement in our living room and truly brings our awkwardly long living room all together. And when you walk into our house, you see the fireplace. When you're in the kitchen, you can see the fireplace. When you're down the hallway, you can see the fireplace. It's such a statement for our entire home. So I'm so happy that we ended up putting it here. But you can tell right here we have these shelves that line our entire living room. I've hated them since day one. They are growing on me, but originally I was planning on ripping these out, but we needed to cut these down in order to mount the fireplace into the studs. So my husband spent some time cutting down all of the shelves, and we pushed the fireplace frame into position, and then we worked on mounting it, which I didn't film, but that was surprisingly easy, and it's so sturdy. Moving on to shiplap, we went out to Home Depot, we got the rest of what we needed to work on this fireplace, and then we started shiplapping it. And we've never shiplapped anything before. We've never worked with shiplap, so I was very apprehensive at first, and at first both of us didn't really know what we were doing, but by like the third or fourth shiplap plank, we started to really feel comfortable and like we knew what we were doing, and it started to go pretty quickly and we got into a rhythm. The first few boards my husband did, and then he also did some of the top ones right in the front because they were pretty heavy and long, and I have a terrible fear of heights. But I actually did a lot of these planks myself, and I did both sides completely by myself. If I could give you one piece of advice though about shiplap, that would be to paint them before you put them up. I was planning to paint mine before I put them up, but we just didn't have the time. We happened to have this one day where our kids were at daycare and we had the whole day to work on this project, and there was just no way that I was going to be able to paint it before we installed it. But trying to paint in between all of the cracks of the shiplap is so tedious. It's taken me hours and hours, and honestly, I can still see a few white spots. So again, if there's any piece of advice I can give you, it would be to please paint these beforehand so you don't have to spend hours tediously painting in all of the nooks and crannies. Like I said, we were pretty apprehensive at first with the shiplap just because we've never done it, but we started to get pretty comfortable and get into a rhythm. The hardest part were these longer pieces. We actually ended up having to add in a couple more pieces of wood into the structure and the frame so that we could add additional nails into the shiplap to just hold them down flat because some of these boards were a little bit warped. But overall, this was pretty easy, and we were able to get the entire front of the fireplace shiplapped on the first day, and then you'll see I worked on the sides on a different day. The next thing that we did was install our fireplace insert. So I'm zooming ahead a little here so I can show you guys how it works and how cool this thing is. We got our fireplace insert from Costway. So thank you so much to Costway for sponsoring today's video. This is their 50-inch electric fireplace insert. They have multiple different sizes ranging from 30 inches to 60 inches. It has two different heat settings, one being more energy efficient, and the other one can warm up to 400 square feet, which is perfect for our small home. The coolest thing about this insert for me personally is that you can totally customize the flames and the colors. I could play with this all day. You can change the speed of the flames. There are 5 different speeds and 5 brightness levels. You can change the color of the flames and the color of the rocks. It comes with a remote control, so you can do it all right from your couch, warm and cozy, don't have to get up. It was also super simple to install, and it just looks so nice. My kids were absolutely fascinated, and honestly, I was too. It's going to be so great to have this fall and winter just to add a little bit of ambiance to our living area. We're just so thrilled, and the price through Costway is great. We shopped around for electric fireplace inserts, and we definitely found that Costway had the best options for the best price. If you've never shopped at Costway before, Costway sells everything. They sell home decor, appliances, furniture, outdoorsy things, toys, things for your pets, whatever you need, you can likely find it on Costway and for a great deal. They actually have some really beautiful modern armchairs on their site right now that I have got my eye on since we are looking to add some to our living room later on down the road. You'll hear me talk about that more later on in the video. Costway also has excellent customer service. They offer fast, free shipping and have a 30-day return policy and a 365-day warranty on their products, which is pretty much unheard of these days. And to me, that says that they truly stand behind their products and their customers, and I really appreciate that. Costway has actually so kindly given me a discount code for 10% off to share with you. So whether you are interested in a fireplace insert like this one or you're looking for something else, save yourself some money and use that code. I will have this fireplace insert linked down below as well as all the discount code information for you to shop. I'll also display the code on the screen right here. Be sure to check out Costway. You will love clicking around on their site and of course saving some money. And thank you so much to Costway for sponsoring this week's video and making our fireplace project a possibility. We truly couldn't have done it without them. Again, I have that discount code, so be sure to check the description box for all that information. Moving on to the sides of the fireplace, like I said, I was able to do these completely on my own. I had my husband just cut all the pieces ahead of time, and then I just went ahead and put them up. I felt so cool using my nail gun. I've actually never used one before until we shiplapped this fireplace. This is when I started to get really excited because I was able to see this project coming along and catch the vision of it, and I'm just so proud of us that we were able to do this because neither one of us have ever done anything like this before, and I'm sitting here recording these voiceovers and looking at the finished product and I truly can't believe that we did it. So the next thing that I wanted to work on was sanding down this mantle. This mantle I purchased from Wayfair. I want to say it was in 2021, and it is made of real wood, but the picture of the listing on Wayfair, I really wasn't aware of how textured this mantle was, and it's bothered me since the day that we put it up. I just think it looks a little too Bass Pro Shop, cabin in the woods type vibe, and that's just not what I'm going for in my house. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just not the style that I'm going for, and I wanted to sand out all of this texture and restain the mantle. So I'm just showing you guys what it looked like before. This took me multiple days, not because it should have. It took me at least a couple of hours to get it fully sanded out and smooth, but it was because I was working around my kids' nap times and school and everything else going on, so I just wasn't able to sit down and just get it done all at once. So you're going to see my outfit change so many times in this video, and that's because this project, there was no way we were ever going to get it done all in one day or even all in 2 days. This took us multiple weeks of work. I was really surprised at how well this did actually sand out. I knew it was real wood, but I was just apprehensive. I didn't think that we were going to get all of that texture out, but I got all of it out. There are a few spots, like you can see, there's a really, really dark spot on the side there. I was not able to get that out. If you guys have any tips for how I could cover that up, let me know, but I did go ahead and stain this, and you'll see that later on in the video, but this is how it was looking when it was freshly sanded. Off camera, I filled in all of the nail holes with some wood putty or wood filler, and then I sanded all that down, and now we're going to work on painting the fireplace. So this is where it really all starts to come together. Again, like I said, I had to spend so much time painting in all of the little nooks and crannies of the shiplap. I'm not going to show you guys that because I don't want to bore you, but I will show you just the first coat of paint. But before I could get to painting, I just walked around with my little vacuum and sucked up any dust that may have been on the fireplace from sanding down all of the wood filler. The color that I picked for this fireplace was Peppercorn by Sherwin-Williams, which is the same color that Kristen used, the one who created this fireplace and the plans to begin with. I just thought this color looked so perfect, and I like to have some darker accents in our home, so this goes really well with the dark accents that we already have. I find painting montages to be so satisfying. So again, I did include the first coat here of me painting, but I didn't bore you guys with all the meticulous, tedious filling in of all the spaces between the shiplap. I was able to paint this entire fireplace in just a few hours. I painted one coat and then I let it dry for a little bit, and then I went back and painted the second coat, and it really only needed 2. I was expecting to have to go in with a third coat, but the 2 covered it really well. And if you're wondering why I didn't go all the way to the edge, that's because we're putting in trim, so I just didn't want to waste my time being so careful to not get paint on the wall when I'm going to cover it up anyway. All right, this is how it's looking after one coat of paint. Obviously you can tell it needs more coats of paint, but pretty good for just one coat. It's going to be so tedious for me to fill in all of the lines, so that's going to be my job next, but I'm not going to film it because that would be boring. But if you're wondering why I did not go all the way down to the floor, or what's going on with the edges and everything here, there's going to be trim all over this, so I'm not stressing myself out trying to go all the way up to the wall or all the way down to the floor because you won't see it anyway. So I'm just focusing on getting the paint looking as good as it can. It's going to take me hours and hours to tediously fill in all of the cracks in the shiplap, so that is again my next project, and I will show you guys when this is all done. Now moving on to baseboards, molding, and trim. I'm starting by painting it all. I didn't want to have to paint again, so close to the walls and the floors and have to be super careful. I just felt like it would be easier to paint it ahead of time. So that's what I'm doing, but this is actually where I went wrong. So learn from my mistakes. You're supposed to sand down the trim before you paint it because otherwise it doesn't grip very well, at least not to this particular material that I was using. So it would scratch right off if you touched it at all. So if you are doing this project, just be sure to sand this down just lightly so that the paint has something to adhere to. But now we're installing the baseboards, and we've never done trim work before, my husband or I, so the corners were not perfect, but I will say for two people who've never done this before, they were pretty good, and whatever imperfections there were easily able to be filled with caulk and painted over, and now they look great. The trim was probably my favorite part of this project because this is where it really started to look done. Once you put on those corner pieces and you can't see the edges, it just looks like it's complete, and I was so excited at this point. I did have a little bit more painting and touching up I had to do, but we were getting so close. We had this piece of wood cut for the bottom, but this is not permanent. This is just temporary. We're planning to get something else made that's a little bit more custom for the bottom, and we're also planning to put in some hinges. But I wanted to put that there just to cover it up for the kids. And now we're going to work on installing our mantle and our TV. So this board is just what holds that floating mantle in place. We're just centering it and mounting it into the studs. And then we checked to make sure the mantle looked good there, but we weren't planning to install it quite yet because we still needed to stain it. But we are going to work on the TV, which was the scariest part because this TV is heavy, the mount is heavy, and this fireplace is like 9.5 feet tall, and I was way up on a ladder. I was literally sweating. You'll see me like I look scared in a lot of these parts, especially the part where we're holding up the TV to get it into the TV mount. That was terrifying for me. I hated it. My anxiety was so high. My heart was racing so fast. But we got it up there and nobody got crushed, which was what my biggest fear was. Once we had the TV up and everything kind of in place, I wanted to start rearranging the living room. So I'm moving things around, cleaning things up so I can make room to move the couch over to the opposite corner of the room. We have an L-shaped couch, and where it was before, it would be really hard to see the TV. So we moved it to the other side of the room. We do have a swivel mount, but it would be really hard if the couch was over on the other side. Plus, I wanted to be able to see the windows. I feel like our windows have been blocked forever by the couch, so this just opened the room up so much more. We are planning to add some armchairs or something on the other side of the fireplace at some point, but that just was not in the budget for this video. And we are also planning to sell this unit. You can see right here, it's got the white doors. I've had that since my apartment. It just doesn't really go with our style anymore, but until we sell it, I'm just placing it underneath the windows. We had so much stuff under the couch. It was absurd. You guys know, if you watch my channel regularly, I clean under our couch all the time. We definitely need to get those blockers that you put around the couch to prevent things from getting underneath it, because this is the worst. I feel like I'm constantly cleaning stuff up from under the couch. Now we're moving on to staining the mantle, and the color that I picked was Golden Pecan, and this was perfect, I think. I really wanted it to be a natural color, but just stepped up a little bit. I didn't want it to be so white like the wood was before, and this just adds kind of like a golden hue, and it works so well with that peppercorn color by Sherwin-Williams that we painted the rest of the fireplace. But like I said, this had quite a few really dark spots, like knots that I was not able to sand out. So if you have any ideas for how I could cover those up, it's not a huge deal, but I would like to try if I could. So again, if you have any ideas, please let me know. I could not believe how beautiful this mantle looked after I sanded it and restained it. It's crazy. It looks so much better. I toyed with the idea of getting a new mantle, but I'm so glad that I didn't do that and I didn't spend that money because this one looks so good. Now just for fun, I'm adding some pumpkins just for a little pop of color. These aren't permanent. They're in no way like the final decorations. I know I could do a lot more with the space, but I just wanted to add a little pop of color there and show you guys how the fireplace is looking now that it's all done. The next thing that I needed to do was fix up the walls in the living room. So where we used to have everything, you can see was not painted when our painter came in and did it last fall. He didn't take everything down in order to paint, so I had to fix it up. So I'm using Balboa Mist. I think this is a Benjamin Moore color, and this paint has been sitting in our basement for a year. It was not in the best shape. There wasn't much of it left, but it was good enough that I was able to get done what I needed to. So I'm mixing it up. You can see right here there's literal chunks of like dried up paint inside of it, but oh well, it worked again for what I needed it to. And now I'm just quickly sanding down the spackle that I'd put down a couple days before, and then I will get to painting. This was good because there were actually a couple of spots that the painter had missed when he came in to paint initially. So I was able to cover all of this up, make the wall look better, and then also fill in any other spots that were damaged over the last year or that our painter had missed. The next thing I did was replace our playmat with an area rug. I got this one on Wayfair super cheap as a Labor Day sale, and I think the colors tie in so well with the rest of the room. Now, one more time, I want to remind you guys of where we started with this space when we moved in, the blue walls and the silver carpet, and then how the room was looking before we made these changes. Nothing looked cohesive. There was chaos everywhere. It looked like a daycare, to be honest. The space was just not being utilized well, and I knew it had so much more potential. And here is the after, our beautiful new fireplace. We just love it so much. Again, it is such a statement piece for our entire house, and I still can't believe we did this ourselves. I want to say a huge thank you to my dad. I forever appreciate his help, and I love it when we get to work together on something. I also want to shout out my friend Kristen for these fireplace plans. Be sure to check them out if you're looking to do a similar build. They're super affordable. And finally, another big thank you to Costway for sponsoring today's video and making this project possible. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this week's video, and don't forget to come back next week for another one.